Good afternoon. I'm Frank Mata. I'm with Computer Associates, a software and managed service company based in Smithfield, Rhode Island, and I've been asked here today to discuss cybersecurity and the prevalence of cyber threats to small and medium-sized businesses. Let's start out by taking a brief look back to see how we got to where we are today. There's been a dramatic escalation and expansion of business computing environments, and the sheer volume of information has exploded, and data is being stored across a wide variety of servers, PCs, and portable devices. Today's businesses require an internet connection and somewhat complex email capabilities just to function. And a simple service interruption can threaten an organization's ability to provide access to key data. So no matter what business or service you deliver today, digitalization is changing it. And you can see here for an article in the Gartner blog, Living in a Digital World, they're simply stating that every company is a technology company today, regardless of the service or the product you provide. And if you think that your industry is exempt, think again, because data collection and analysis are becoming highly sophisticated, and digitalized businesses are creating value and generating revenue through digitalized processes, products, and services. And as companies have embraced the internet, it's no secret that cyber intrusions and cyber attacks are on the rise. High-profile hacks on military computers and corporate domains like Google and Microsoft have illustrated that new cybersecurity challenges are emerging as fast as experts can combat them. And you can see that Ernst & Young is suggesting that companies go on the offensive rather than waiting to be attacked. So it's tempting to see cybersecurity as a problem that's unique to government agencies or large enterprises. As a small business owner, should you be concerned? A study earlier this year by Symantec, as you can see, shows that attacks have skyrocketed by 72% in the last 18 months just on small businesses, and that 31% of all attacks in 2012 happened to businesses with less than 250 employees. And 1/3 of all cyber attacks today now are targeting small to medium-sized businesses. So why is this? It's because the bad guys, the cyber criminals, have decided that it's easier to attack soft targets. And soft targets don't have the same protections as enterprise-size companies that employ security fortresses. Cybersecurity involves protecting your system and data by preventing, detecting, and responding to attacks. It's important to remember that while there are costs involved in protecting information, there are also costs involved in not protecting your information. Business interruption and downtime can be very expensive. So what types of threats are there? There's internal threats and external threats. Examples of external threats include experimenters or vandals, just amateur hackers. Then there's hacktivists, and these folks have a personal or a political agenda. And finally, there's cyber criminals, and these folks are just crooks who want to steal your money. Despite the broad range of external threats, internal threats account for 80% of small business security problems, according to the NIST. And don't forget, internal threats aren't always intentional. So there's a broad range of information security threats. Some of the most common threats include website tampering, denial of service, and malicious code and viruses. And website tampering can take many forms. Folks can simply deface your website, but they can also compromise your web page with some invisible code. And that code will attack or download spyware to your computer or your customers' computers every time they connect to your website. There's also malicious code and viruses that can basically set up a denial of service So that all it's really doing here is it runs an application or an algorithm that degrades the system to a point where it's just about unusual. And then, of course, there's the simple theft of physical equipments like laptops, computers, iPhones, theft of computer files, inappropriate access to computer accounts, interception of emails or internet transactions, and Trojan software. So the term Trojan is derived from the Trojan horse story in Greek mythology, because Trojan horses employ a form of social engineering. They present themselves as harmless, useful gifts in order to persuade victims to install them on their computers. Trojans are malicious programs that perform unauthorized actions, and these actions include deleting data, or modifying data, or even just stealing or copying data. The most recent version of Trojan ransomware is called CryptoLocker, and it blocks your data by encrypting it. You might have seen this particular Trojan in the recent news. So CryptoLocker is a ransomware program. It was released in September of 2013, and it targets all versions of Windows. This malware is very sophisticated and very aggressive. It leverages the latest technology, which makes it very destructive and almost impossible to inoculate against once you've been infected. CryptoLocker silently encrypts all of your data, scrambles the data using a unique algorithm, and when it's finished encrypting your files, it displays this screen that you see here telling you how you should pay them a ransom in order to get your files back. And the screen actually does a 72-hour countdown and threatens to erase the encryption key if they're not paid within the 72 hours. And it's important to keep in mind that once a machine is infected, CryptoLocker searches for files to encrypt in a number of other locations, including external hard drives, USB sticks, and even shared network drives. So if one of your employees should open the wrong email, not only will they infect their personal device, they would potentially infect your entire network. The problem is that this malware really works. Once your data is encrypted, the only way to get it back is to pay the ransom or to wipe the infected files and restore or recover from a recent backup or snapshot. This is assuming you're backing up your data regularly and your backups are reliable. On the other hand, if you pay the ransom, you do get your files back, but paying the ransom does not remove the malicious software, and you're still at risk of having your data ransomed over and over again. So what's the answer? How do we deal with the threat? There are a number of things you can do to protect your business from this and other similar threats. The first step to protecting the information in your business is to establish security policies. It's very important that security policies are comprehensive and that they're kept up to date. You may want to revive your policies periodically as the threats change. And the second step to protecting information is ensuring that your employees both know and adhere to your security policies. Remember, most vulnerabilities that businesses have are caused by human error. So you need to train your employees in basic security principles, and training should begin the first day they come to work. Include security policies and procedures, security threats and precautions, and basic security do's and don'ts. Training should continue to reinforce these policies with reminders and tools, including posters and newsletters. Maybe periodic retraining is also necessary because people do tend to forget. Lack of training is one of the most significant information security weaknesses in most organizations. So, what exactly should you train your employees on? Safe internet practices, safe email practices, and safe desktop practices. So, some examples of some safe internet practices. Don't surf the web with an administrative account. Don't download software from files from unknown pages. And don't answer pop-up windows requesting you to download specific drivers. Never allow websites to install software in your computer. Protect your passwords and your credit card numbers. So how do you do that? There are tools, and one of them is called KeePass, and it's a free, open source, cross-platform, lightweight password management utility for Microsoft Windows. KeePass stores all of your usernames and your passwords and other fields in a securely encrypted database that's protected by a single master password. So if you have your passwords written down on a piece of paper in your wallet or on an Excel spreadsheet on your PC, you really want to transfer them to a secure encrypted database where you only have to remember one password to get to all of your passwords. And the other thing to remember is that you only want to conduct online business and banking, especially, on secure connections. And how do you do that? You make sure that before you conduct business online, take a look at the upper left-hand corner of your screen at the website address. It needs to begin with HTTPS. The S is for secure. If it is not labeled HTTPS, then it doesn't matter how many pictures of locks are on the screen or how secure it says it is, it's not secure. So safe email practices, be careful when opening attachments. Don't reply to unsolicited emails. Don't even click on links in an email. The real rule here is if you don't know and trust the source of the email, then don't click on it. And then some safe desktop practices. Don't share credentials. Use separate computer accounts for each user. And use screen logging. So log on and off and power down your system at the end of the day. And never plug a USB device into your PC if you don't know where it came from. And make sure that if you're using mobile devices, that they're locked. They have a lock code that only the user knows to be able to get into. So let's discuss some ways to protect your information. There are several different areas you must consider in order to fully protect yourself. In order to protect yourself against viruses, spyware, trojans, malware, you need to install antivirus software. You need company-wide detection tools. You need to establish company-wide procedures. And you need to assign responsibility for these procedures in writing. 21st century computers are complex, and they include mobile technology and tablets and personal computers that are made by many different manufacturers. Nowadays, with mobile device management, we have the ability to monitor the pads and the phones and these other devices. And the most attractive benefit of this service is the ability to remotely lock or erase these devices if they're lost or stolen. Next, we need to protect our hardware and software. So in order to do this, you need to secure your internet connection and employ sophisticated software firewalls. You need to keep the patching of your operating systems and applications up to date, and you need to secure your wireless access points. Also, keep in mind the importance of disposing of old computers and media securely. Just because you're finished with it doesn't mean someone else can't use it to get important information about you, your business, or your customers. Another very important consideration is your backup procedures. Just backing up your data is not enough. Some people don't consider how important backup procedures are. I'm sure you've heard of situations where individuals need to restore files only to find the backup is not usable because it was never tested. You should also copy this information to another location off-site for safekeeping. And you should be in the habit of testing your backups periodically to make sure that they actually work. And finally, no insurance policy is 100%, so you need a contingency plan that will kick in after you've been affected. When you get infected by something like a cryptolock or virus, you need to know what steps you're going to take to get your business back up and running, and you need to have responsibilities assigned to individuals within your company that know what their responsibilities are. So compose a disaster recovery plan. What are you actually going to do with that backup? What's on the backup? Does it have an operating system copy, or is it just Word and Excel documents? Do you have a replacement platform? Where is the new server going to come from? And then, of course, make sure the plan is documented. Who is accountable for executing the plan? So beyond backups, there are also business continuity and disaster recovery devices. And these devices employ something called image backups as opposed to file backups. By taking a snapshot of an entire PC or an entire server or an entire device and storing that image, all-inclusive image, on another device, you've created a bootable backup. In other words, you can take that copy and put it on a new server and simply boot it, and it looks just like your old server. You can take that image of your PC and put it on a brand new PC and boot that PC, and it boots up with your desktop, and all of your preferences and personal options and files are just there. So an image backup is the best disaster recovery plan because it gives you the quickest time to restore. So you can back up to a local appliance on site for a fraction of the cost, and that local device is being copied to every 10 or 15 minutes, which means that if you should have a crash within an hour, you can be up and running on the appliance that's sitting beside your server. And then we simply bring down the primary server, scrub it, and do a bare metal restore. Bring back everything from the backup device back to your live server, and we continue on with business. So a BDR, or a backup and disaster recovery device, incorporates a complete disaster recovery plan. The other option for some small to medium-sized businesses is to consider outsourcing. Due to some of the constraints that you may have, budgetary constraints or lack of internal resources, you may consider to outsource your tech responsibilities to a third-party managed services company. Recently, Gartner Research reported that 80% of IT spend is invested in maintenance. So consider the benefit of being able to aim your internal IT resources at projects that contribute to increased revenue and business growth, and leave the highly important but repetitive daily housekeeping tasks to outside professionals who have more sophisticated tools. And some of these tools include remote monitoring and management, and remote automated antivirus protection, firewall management. Managed services is the practice of outsourcing day-to-day management responsibilities as a strategic method for improving operations and cutting expenses. And a wide array of services are available. So let's review our overall philosophy. How do we protect our business from outside threats? We need to establish internal security policies. We need to protect our hardware and our software. We need to protect our systems. We have to establish efficient backup plans and develop and test disaster recovery plans. And depending on the complexity of your network, you might consider outsourcing all of these network responsibilities. But that's kind of abstract. That's a long-term security plan. What actions can you take to implement cybersecurity over the next quarter or the next few months? There's 4 basic steps. Conduct an analysis of your information security needs, and then assess the cost of losing your information. That helps you determine what you need to invest to protect it. And then create a plan to protect your information. And finally, implement your plan through policies, training, and hardware and software controls. You need to identify critical machines and data and put a minimal plan at least together to protect them. And there's a lot of third parties out there that will provide assessments at no charge. So finally, what are some things you can do today when you go back to your office? Uh, Things that you can do right now to figure out where do you stand as a company with cybersecurity policies. Well, you should, at a minimum, verify that your data is being backed up effectively. Find out who's responsible for the backups, how often they're happening, and test them and make sure that the backup media is usable. And then review your disaster recovery plan. You may find that you don't have a specific plan. You need to set internal passwords to expire every 30 to 60 days, and that's very simple on a Windows operating or an iOS operating system setting. And this means that your employees will be forced to change their passwords regularly so that they don't get stale and become common knowledge to everyone. Evaluate your employees' internet access capabilities. Where can your employees go on the internet, and are you restricting them in order to protect your core network? Investigate your antivirus and malware protection. It's a good idea to use a standard antivirus application over all of the devices that have access to your network. And create a guest wireless network connection. Make sure that when folks are coming in from the outside and they need access to their email or to the internet, you can give them access via your router, but you don't want to give them access to your internal LAN. And then secure your employee mobile devices. Make sure at a minimum that you can lock or wipe them remotely, and make sure that they all have passwords set so that there's restricted access to that device should it get lost or stolen. And finally, schedule a network assessment. During these assessments, companies can come in and look at things like warranty expirations on your internal equipment, antivirus revision levels, operating system revision levels, and the state of your Active Directory and your user credentials. I'd like to thank you for spending some time with me here today. As small business owners, I know you're already burdened with so many responsibilities to your business and to your employees, and we don't want to be alarmist, but being aware of cyber threats and taking out some insurance against those threats should be one of your primary concerns.